So the Chicago Sky have announced that they are moving arenas for Indiana's home game. Well, Indiana's road game, but Chicago's home game. This is the motion that the Indiana Fever /
The Chicago Sky just made a move that has the entire WNBA talking they're abandoning their 1,000-seat Winrust Arena for the massive 235,000-seat United Center, but only for one specific game as teams scramble to cash in on basketball's newest phenomenon. Angel Reese isn't holding back her feelings about what's really happening. The battle between two rookies has escalated beyond the court into a full-blown business revolution.
Have just announced that they are moving their game against the Indiana Fever to the United Center. Now, generally, these Sky play in Wintrust Arena, which accommodates about like 10,000 people, but the United Center accommodates 23,500. Now, I did hear that the 23,500 were for concert events, and for sporting events, I think it was either in the 21,500 range.
Get straight to the breaking news. The Chicago Sky have officially announced they're moving their home game against the Indiana Fever to the United Center. This isn't just any arena change. This is moving from their regular Winrust Arena, which holds around 10,000 fans, to the legendary United Center, home of the Chicago Bulls, with a capacity of 23,500 for concerts and approximately 21,500 for sporting events. The significance here can't be overstated. The United Center isn't just bigger, it's where Michael Jordan made history. It's where championship banners hang from the rafters. It's sacred ground in basketball terms, and the Sky are making this move for one specific matchup when Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever come to town. But Chicago isn't alone in this strategy. The Washington Mystics have already paved this path.
But the Chicago Sky aren't the only ones arena hopping to host the Indiana Fever, as the Washington Mystics also have changed their venue to accommodate the Indiana Fever. The Mystics have one of the smallest arenas in the WNBA, which is CareFirst Arena, which holds 4,200 capacity. And last year, they took this step as well, moving their game to Capital One Arena against the Fever, which
last season they moved their game against the Fever from their tiny Capital One Arena, which holds just 4,200 fans, to a much larger venue. The result, they drew over 20,000 spectators, nearly 5 times their normal capacity for a single regular season game. And this year, they're doubling down on that strategy. According to an official post from the Washington Mystics, mark your calendars. Not 1, not 2, but 4. Mystics home games will be relocated to Eagle Bank Arena and CFG Bank Arena this season. Last season, we sold out all home games. Let's do it again. We can't wait to put on a show for Northern Virginia and Baltimore. To break this down even further, the Mystics are moving their game against the Aces to Eagle Bank Arena, 10,000 capacity. Their game against the Sky also to Eagle Bank, 10,000 capacity. But their 2 games against the Indiana Fever, those are being moved to CFG Bank Arena, which holds 14,000 fans. The pattern is clear. WNBA teams are strategically relocating to larger venues. Specifically, when Caitlin Clark comes to town, this isn't just about accommodating a few extra fans, it's about capitalizing on what has become known as the Caitlin Clark effect.
The owner, Sheila Johnson, did go on a show and talk about how the entire WNBA should have been on the cover of Time magazine, to which a lot of people responded to the Washington Mystics capitalizing on the Indiana Fever by moving their games to different venues, only bolstering their revenue. And I am not mad that all these teams are moving to bigger venues. I think that it's great that more people do get to see the Indiana Fever, and that the WNBA does get to capitalize. The WNBA owners do get to capitalize on the explosive.
To a June report by Sportscasting, WNBA attendance skyrocketed by a staggering 105% when Clark was playing. The Fever averaged 36% more fans on the road than any other WNBA team in September. A game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse between the Fever and the Mystics set a league attendance record of 20,711 spectators. The financial implications are enormous, as one commenter noted on social media. These venue changes can mean an extra $4 million in revenue, $2 million per game for teams hosting the Fever in a league where financial Stability has been a challenge. That kind of windfall is impossible to ignore, but not everyone is celebrating this phenomenon. There's a sense of frustration among some players, most notably Angel Ree, who has built her own considerable following and star power. While there haven't been any direct quotes from Ree about the venue changes, specifically her body language and social media activity have made it clear that she's not entirely comfortable with the singular focus on Clark. The tension between Ree and Clark dates back to their college days, particularly the 2023 NCAA championship game between LSU and Iowa. That matchup became one of the most watched women's basketball games in history, not just for the quality of play, but for the contrasting styles and personalities of these two stars. What's fascinating about their dynamic is how it's carried over into the professional ranks. Both rookies have brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA, but it's Clark who seems to be driving the major business decisions like these venue changes. This raises interesting questions about recognition marketing and the business of women's basketball. Is it fair that teams are specifically capitalizing on Clark's drawing power? Should similar accommodations be made for games featuring Ree and the Chicago Sky? And what does this mean for the league as a whole? Caitlin Clark herself addressed the venue situation last season, saying that's what it is, and if it's going to help move the game forward. Absolutely, that's amazing. That's what it should be like. I mean, I saw the ticket prices. I guess the only thing is, like, I'm surprised we're not playing at the United Center. I thought that would have been really good for the game and really good for all the women's basketball fans in Chicago. So maybe there's a conflict of some sort that I don't know about. Obviously, that's a little above my pay grade, but we're excited, one at a time. Clark's prescient comment about the United Center has now come true, as the Sky have listened and made the very move she suggested would be good for the game. What we're witnessing is unprecedented in WNBA history. The league has seen stars before: Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Candace Parker, Maya Moore, to name a few. But never has a rookie generated this kind of immediate economic impact, forcing teams to literally change their venues to accommodate the demand. To put this in historical context, it's worth asking if there's any precedent for this kind of phenomenon. Did Michael Jordan cause similar venue changes in the NBA? The comparison isn't perfect. The NBA was already well established when Jordan rose to prominence, whereas the WNBA is still in a growth phase. But even accounting for that difference, what Clark is doing to attendance figures and revenue is remarkable. One aspect that makes this situation particularly interesting is the business side of women's basketball. The WNBA, for all its growth and progress, is still fundamentally a business. Teams are making these venue changes because it makes financial sense. When you can potentially earn an extra $2 million from a single game, that decision becomes obvious. As one commentator put it, Clark doesn't move the needle. She is the needle. Her impact extends far beyond just attendance figures. The new CBA collective bargaining agreement that's offering the WNBA much more money, the building of new practice facilities, the implementation of charter flights last season, all of these advancements are at least partially attributable to the increased revenue and attention that Clark has brought to the league. But this raises complex questions about equity and recognition within the sport. While Clark's impact as undeniable, basketball remains a team sport. The focus on one player, no matter how talented or popular, can create tension within teams and across the league. This is where the Angel Ree aspect becomes